And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello and welcome to the Weighing In podcast. Yeah, we just saw the last pay-per-view and last championship fight of the 2024 year for the UFC. And you got to give it to the man, Alexander Pantoja, just put on a performance. There was a lot of good fights. There was some that were not too exciting. We kind of said that was going to be the way it was. You got to admit it, Josh. Did I not call it?
And there were some robberies along the way, too, by the way.
Ooh, robberies. Let's
hear
this.
I would say there was one that was pretty much a robbery.
There was one that I thought was wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah. There was another one that was close. Anyways. But hey, before we move on, though, I want you guys to remember that this show is brought to you by BetUS. BetUS, this show is powered by BetUS at YouTube 150. You get that 150% bonus with YouTube 150 with the promo code. Also, too, LMNT. Obviously, I'm drinking my LMNT. I had a long day on the lacrosse fields. You and I are the same. Stay salty, my friends. Hey, link
Black
down
Cherry
below.
Lime.
Stay hydrated.
I love it.
The best hydration product in the business, man. Check it out. It's got 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. And my boy was drinking it up today because he had 3 lacrosse games. They didn't come out too well, man. The weather was shit. Just didn't play well. It was one. They went 1 and 2 today. Not a good.
I did good today. I had 2 new baby calves born. 2. So I'm just banging the numbers out here.
Banging the numbers out. Is that what we're calling?
Well, that's what Big Red. That's what Big Red's doing.
That's what Big Red's doing. Fucking what a man right there, just spreading the
big. He went over there and he just looked. He puts his bottom teeth out, man, and he's like, "Yeah,
that's awesome." I think he's got a big dip in it.
Oh yeah. He looks at the little one, looks over, and kind of shakes his head. Yeah.
John, did this card give you any flashbacks to any old fights or any old cards, like anything that you can think of? I mean, you brought up Max Sakurai. You brought that up. Him coming over, getting the automatic title shot.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of reminds me, like the Japanese fighters when they first come over, they don't fare too well. And they some of them find their groove and they have success, and some of them don't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I expected a little bit more. I actually thought that he was going to be the guy was going to be a little bit more of a little bit faster, a little bit too big for him, but that didn't seem to be the case, man.
Well, he was fast. There's no doubt he was fast, but
so
was Pantoja. And I didn't say it before because I was like, you know what? I don't want to put that out there. I really thought that Pantoja had a little bit of an up on Asakura in the fact that he trains with a guy named Kyoji Horiguchi, who was a guy that beat Asakura. All right. Who is every bit as fast as either one of them, and who has a ton of knowledge as far as fighting, other Japanese fighters, because he's fought them all. And that, I looked and I said, man, that's something to have in your back pocket there that, they're really not bringing up, but it's a huge, huge thing. And I do think that it had an effect because you saw how relaxed, and we also talked about this being Asakura's first fight in the UFC. You could tell he was a little bit hyped. He was overextending at certain times. He was trying to be explosive, and that's what he is. But you got to be relaxed, and you've got to be just in that flow of the fight. You can't push things too far, especially, in that championship fight, last fight, because you burn energy. And I'm not saying he burned out, but he made mistakes that ended up putting him in positions where he ended up losing the fight. I got to give it to Pantoja. He fought a beautiful fight. He took some big shots at times, just walked through them though, but really showed, in the stand-up. Look, he won the stand-up. This is what we were talking about. Look, Kai is known for his stand-up. Pantoja won the stand-up. He won those battles. He looked great. And the other thing we talked about, I said, look, there's a huge difference on the ground. And I think that was going to be the point where things were going to separate. And it did. The way he took the back the way he locked in the figure four, how fast it was. And this is the transitional grappling that we talk about all the time, that's the display of it. That's when you see someone moving and they're already a step ahead of their opponent as they're just moving along. And that's what Pantoja was. And then all of a sudden Asakura stuck, and then he goes and you watch Pantoja's arm. You watch how he's got his arm, and Asakura's kind of pressing down on it, and finally he moves it, and he boom, goes across the neck, boom, switches it over, and you go, there's just levels. Yeah. That was the difference in the fight.
Yeah, it was the same way in the Ian Garry fight where he couldn't finish the rear naked. It's because there's levels to it. Just learning how to try to get the hand behind the head. It's a lot more different. It's a lot more difficult than people think. Like you don't just shove the glove and the hand behind the head. The glove gets in the way more than people realize.
Yeah.
And Ian Garry figured that out tonight. But like tonight, it was just one of those situations where I was just watching it all play out. And I'm thinking to myself, he's coming in so confident, Asakura. He seemed like he was confident. He felt like the size was probably when I saw them stand up at the weigh-ins.
Yeah,
I was like, holy cow, he's a lot bigger than Pantoja. But when you got him inside the cage, they didn't fight the same. Asakura was fighting off of his back foot. Pantoja was like, I don't give a shit how big you are.
Just marching him down.
I'm going to make you fight my fight. And when he landed the shots, he really made Asakura respect him. When people talk about levels to the game, but just understanding where you're good at, he is better when he is the hammer. Pantoja is like when he's having to move backwards, he's not the same fighter. Most fighters aren't.
Most fighters aren't, exactly.
But understanding that you're better doing that and forcing yourself to do it, there's a big difference. Like when you get inside that cage against someone who's as dangerous as Asakura with the hand speed and the flying knees, and you don't know where shit's coming from. And for him to still be like, you know what? I'm still going to walk forward. He took that knee. It didn't land flush, but he still took it to the face and a little bit to the chest. That first flying knee. I mean, he still was. He didn't hesitate. He didn't like take a step back. And, oh man, I just almost got knocked out. Like, no. He's like, fuck this. I'm going to keep going forward. And so, just watching him put it together and realize, like, no, man, I'm just going to keep my game plan, keep walking you down, keep making you fight under pressure, see how you react, and see if you can make a mistake. Because I would have to agree with the commentary. Watching these two guys fight was, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like fucking two Yodas fighting each other in the air. These guys were so damn fast. It was crazy watching them spin around, fight hands, like get back up to their feet, get taken. It was fast. It was so fast.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Both of them, when you're looking at these guys, as fighters, Pantoja has, it's funny because he made the call out of Demetrius Johnson. And if you recall, when they had the Ultimate Fighter show, he was one of 16 champions from promotions all around the world, basically, that were part of that whole thing. And he had a chance to get that shot at fighting DJ, and he lost it to Tim Elliott, as far as, getting that opportunity. And you look and you go, now, yeah, he might be there with DJ and stuff, because he's a better fighter now as champion than he was when he was fighting in the 3-round fights and everything. And you can see the confidence in what he's doing. And we talk about it all the time. Confidence is everything when it comes to fighting. When you now know, hey, I'm the guy, I'm the man, I'm the guy that you got to go through, and I'm better than I've ever been. And he is. That's what you're looking for. How long can he hang on to it? I don't know. There's a lot of good talent in the flyweight division now. Asakura
is there, John?
Yeah, there is. There's some really good talent.
Is there, John?
Yeah, you got to be honest about. Take a look at what's there. Go on, take a look at it.
I'm looking right at it. Brandon Royval, Brandon
Royval being one, Moreno being another.
France. I mean, like, let's be honest. The one that really gives him a hard time would be just Brandon Moreno. That'd be it. And not even say it like it's a tough fight for him.
I think Royval would give him a go. Like he beat Royval. There's no doubt about it. What's that?
He's already beat Brandon Royval twice.
I know that. But Royval's getting better. There's just that, point where you look and the paths cross at a certain point. I'm not saying that he can't beat Royval a third time. He could. I said, I know they've met before, but you take a look, and the people that are at the top, the problem with Kai Kara France, he's great on the feet.
Yeah.
He can't match. He's the same as Asakura. He's going to have a hard time matching Pantoja on the ground. So he's limited in what he can offer offensively if he doesn't want to make the mistake like you saw with Asakura. So it's one of those. I would love to see DJ come back. I thought it was a great call out. If you're going to call someone out, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would. I'm actually, to be honest, I was like, I didn't even think about that. But when you told me he called him out, because I turned it off as soon as the fight's over. I normally turn it off and get set up in here. But no, absolutely. I think there couldn't have been a better call out. And now it's just up to the UFC to put that fight together. Because look, I'm looking at him. He's just beat Kai Asakura. Okay, and then you go down the list. He's beat Steve Urseg, who many thought didn't deserve a title shot, but I thought, Urseg is a tough dog.
He's getting better too.
Yeah. He beat Brandon Royval. Okay, that was recently in 2023. And then he beat Brandon Moreno in 2023. And then he beat Alex Perez in 2022. Then he beat Brandon Royval again. I mean, like, the Royval thing is interesting to me because the fact that you say, let's go ahead and have him do it again. Brandon Royval is getting better. He is getting better. The other thing, though, when do we enter the Chama and Izzy kind of realm now? It's like 4 fights, 5 fights. I mean, let's get the DJ fight before DJ gets too old.
What did you see when you entered the Chama realm and you had Izzy taking on a guy that he beat him twice in kickboxing and then once in MMA, but in that second fight in MMA he got him.
Well, John, I'm getting bored. I'm getting bored, motivated to watch to train for this guy. I've already beat him 3 times.
That could be true, and that is a problem. I
knocked him out twice, and it's 2 times out of the 3 times. It's like, what else do I have to prove? Like, and now I go up to weight. Oh, you know what? I'm bored down here at 185. Let me go up to 205, win a title there. Let me do that. Look, I think look, I like the idea of what Pantoja was talking about. He's kind of already hinted a little bit, like if he can't get the DJ fight, that the Sean O'Malley fight, he'd like that fight because there's a little bit of that beef, I think, back and forth. Video footage got leaked of the two of them training together, and Sean was kind of getting the better of him or something like that. But confidence is definitely key, and I think right now he's at all-time high, and he just proved that he can stand and he can make things happen with guys that are a little bit bigger than him. Like Asakura was a bigger guy, bigger body frame, longer range, all those things, and he didn't seem to bother him one damn bit. He's very confident in who he is. He performed like he had a zero care in the world. He knows how good he is. And like, remember when we were talking about that? As soon as you win the championship, you're 20% better, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, he's definitely that much better.
I agree with you. So
I mean, he made it look easy tonight. Great performance by him. Outside of the DJ fight, I really have no interest in any other fights. Until those guys. But like you said, there's plenty of new talent. There are plenty of tough. There are a bunch of really good fighters.
There is some good new talent.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to watching the Moreno fight again. I like watching Brandon Moreno fight. Period. So I'm not opposed to watching that fight again. And that was probably his toughest fight to date.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt
in terms of the ones that I've seen and really paid attention to. So next fight.
Well, we had the Ian Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, and all the little old ladies from Kazakhstan were right. I don't know if you saw that video, but they had a video of they were all telling Ian why he should not be fighting Mr. Rakhmonov and how good he was, and I thought that was fantastic. Whoever put that out was very smart. But this fight went exactly like I thought. It was boring. I'm just being honest. It was not an exciting fight. It's a fight. They both fought hard. They both fought tactical. But it just was overall, it was a boring fight, be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't, people were expecting, this bloodbath and a barn burner. And I was like, I just don't see it, because for Rakhmonov to have the advantage, he's got to be in a grappling situation for the most part against Garry. And so that means he wants to clinch, and that means he wants to take him to the ground. He's not going to, we talked about it, Michelle's not going to be easy to take down. It's going to be a tough one, and then Garry, his thing is he's got to stay at distance. And he did for a lot of it, but he didn't throw. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
You're going to go back and you're going to watch that fight and you're going to go, man, I should have thrown there. I should have thrown there. I had to take the chance. And he was waiting.
How much of that was because of the memories he had of training with Rakhmonov and how good he was back then.
I think a lot of it. I think he was expecting that he thought that Rakhmonov would try to throw and he could counter at times. And then when Rakhmonov was not throwing, there's nothing to counter. So you're both standing there waiting. And you look and you go, and he was letting rounds go by that he was losing. If you want to say, yeah, he lost the round. But I mean, it's by this, a gnat's ass, because neither one of them are giving the judges anything to frickin' do.
This is another reason why we should have a half-point scoring system.
This is exactly why.
This is one of those fights. And when people talk about the half-point scoring system, this is one of those fights.
Yeah, it is. And I take nothing away from Shavkat. Hey, he is now 19-0, but now he has one decision. He wasn't able to finish Ian Garry, and it wasn't, let's be honest, it wasn't close to a finish anywhere in there. So it's
there was one close to a finish. It was the other way around.
Yeah, Ian Garry.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you look and you go, hey, you put two really good fighters together many times, this is what you're going to get. And they're both cautious because they have trained together. We talked about it and you said, well, when guys have fought, or trained together, usually it's a good fight. And then a lot of times it's not.
Yeah.
There are those times it is, and I'm not going to pat you on the back, but you and Gilbert Melendez put on 3 unbelievable action-packed fights. It was awesome to watch. And there's been other ones that have had, great trilogies where you look and each one was good. You look at Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin. They had the first one, which was fantastic. Then they went in the second one. It was okay. But it wasn't what the first.
It's hard to live up to a good second one when you had such a great first one like
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. But it is done at times. And guys, there's certain ones they match up, and it's a firefight from the beginning, just because of the way they fight and the style that they bring and how it matches up with their opponent. This is one of those ones. It just wasn't there.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I was expecting more as well. I think everyone was. I thought Ian had to pull the trigger a lot more, like you were saying. I thought Rakhmonov I think he had flashbacks of in the gym believing that he could just take him down once he got to body locks and he could control him and control the top position. Because when he did get to the top and he was able to make space, he landed some good shots from the top position, was able to control Ian Garry. Because Ian Garry's, he's gotten a lot better, it seems like, off of his back. I mean, we haven't seen much of him on his back.
He's obviously much better.
But you could tell that Rakhmonov was like, oh, wow, you're not the same guy on the bottom as you were when you were at Killcliff.
That's right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the training with Charles Oliveira and training with all the guys from the Charles Oliveira camp. And so I looked at Ian Garry and I thought to myself, if he can stick and move, put some pressure on him, make him fight a fight where Rakhmonov's got to overextend, he can maybe catch him. But he didn't do that. He fought very composed. He wasn't concerned about getting a fight not to go the distance. He didn't care about that. He's like, look, if I got to beat you by going the distance, I got to beat you by going the distance. He didn't let that get to him. Some fighters would have lived on that, like had that pelt on their.
I have finished every fight. I have to finish this one and done something to put him in a bad position. It's possible. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it could have put himself in a really bad position to the point where, and he almost did at the end.
Yeah.
That submission, had he understood how to shove that hand behind the head and how to finish that, I mean, it would have been a lot different. Would have been a lot different. I mean, the fight would have been over. And can you imagine though the submission? But let's go back. Like people were talking to me. People. How did I get to that? People were talking to me about how just something all of a sudden just popped up on my screen. People were talking to me like about how Shavkat, like when I said I wasn't completely sold on him. John, I saw a lot out of him tonight that I was very impressed with. Very impressed. Super fast, faster than I gave him credit for. His spinning attacks are very fast as well.
His kicks, boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah, when he goes, he goes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that lull you to sleep first. Let me just bounce in front of you, little tiny feints, not really do a whole lot. Wait for you to kind of like twitch or flinch to my feints.
And you can bring your finch in too.
Yeah, my finch, yeah. But it just was one of those things where I was like, oh. And then he almost got submitted by Ian Garry.
Yeah, he did.
And so when I'm looking at the fight, are you sold on him? I have to ask you, are you sold on him? Like, in terms of like, do you believe he's somebody that can beat and that he can beat Bilal?
I think right now he's a step behind Bilal. I'm going to be honest about it. And one of the things that it could change with any fight.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things that I did notice, though, after the first round, he was shaking out his arms bad.
After the grappling, the wrestling.
Yes, he was. So you know what they felt like. It's one of those, holy shit, they're feeling heavy, they're feeling sluggish. And then he did it again later on. And it was like, you're having a problem with this grappling. Well, Bilal can grapple and grapple well. Bilal is every bit the wrestler that Shavkat is, I believe, and can wrestle with him if he wants. And I honestly think that Shavkat's got some good spinning attacks. He does have speed when all of a sudden he decides to go. It's going to be a good fight. But right now, I honestly think Bilal is the guy that is going to end up being the favorite in it.
No, I would agree 100%. I just watching that fight, I'm thinking to myself, Bilal is a guy that's going to be right in your grill. He's not going to allow him to do those spinning attacks. If he's got to be all the way in or all the way out. And so, whereas Garry can go ahead and afford to be kind of like in the middle there because he can reach him and he can still lean back enough to get out of the way. And he's also a very fast twitch muscle fiber type fighter for a white guy. And the thing with Bilal is not going to fight you that way. Bilal is going to just step right into the pocket and just keep putting you on your back foot. And when you overextend, he's going to take you down. And when you don't overextend, he's just going to press you to the fence and then lift, scoop, take you down again. And in the process, you're going to eat a couple of shots because you're concerned of whether he's going to shoot or whether to keep your hands up or not. So I am not I'm sold on the fact that he's definitely
good.
He's definitely good. I'm not knocking that. He can't be 19-0 and fight. Have this many wins in the UFC and this many wins outside the UFC, and come on, he looked fantastic. I thought he looked good, but the way he had to win that fight was a very boring fight. But you expected that. I expected if it was going to be a boring fight, that Garry was going to win. My last question for you is: did you expect it to be 48-47?
No, I did not.
Okay,
I did not.
I wanted to. I thought, like, I don't know which round it was, but I go back and I'm like, okay, I thought Garry won a round, but the rounds were so razor close.
That's
maybe the third round, but I think I can't know if it was the third round.
I had Shavkat up. I want to say the first two rounds, and then the third was super close.
Yeah, I think that's the round I gave.
And so I can understand you going either way on it, and then the fifth, was for Garry. So makes sense. I had no problem with the 48-47. Yeah, it's not what I had in my head because I think I gave the third round to Rakhmonov too, and I was like, he's way behind. But it is what it is. It's like one of those. I think Garry. I will say this: Rakhmonov beat a really good fighter. Garry's good, and he's 27 years of age, and he's going to be a champion someday. He's going to be. He's that good. But he does need to learn. Hey. There's times when you expect your opponent to be doing something and they're not. You've got to change from waiting to being the aggressor and going after him, or else you're going to end up in these positions where you can lose the fight, where you're not really losing the fight.
I mean, but John, does he beat Leon Edwards?
Him and Leon's a good fight, I believe.
No, I agree. I think I'm just asking you a question. You think he beats Leon Edwards?
I think he could. I think Leon could beat him, but I do think Kamaru Usman would be right now. See, and this is I hate saying this.
Yeah.
Right now, I think Kamaru Usman and his skills as far as with his wrestling would kind of be the guy that would give Garry the most trouble. But I'm being honest, Kamaru's getting older, and every day he's getting older. And
no, I'm talking about Rakhmonov.
Oh, Rakhmonov. I thought you meant Garry.
No.
Rakhmonov against Usman. It's the same thing. Kamaru is a great athlete, great fighter, but he is getting older.
Yeah.
And he's slowing down. And really, is he fighting at 170 or 185 now? I don't know. He's trying. He's more into I want to have super fights against people that interest me more than I care about going after a title again. And
That makes sense, though, John.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I understand it, and it makes sense to me as long as he's comfortable with it. Great.
He's paid his dues. Like
Absolutely.
if you want to fight fun, if you want fights that motivate you, let's fight those fights.
Yeah.
You know, I keep hearing that it's gonna be him and JDM. So if it's gonna be Jack Della Maddalena and him, I'm down with that. I mean, I believe he can take him down and control him, especially when we saw the way that Gilbert was able to take him down and those type of things. But I think that Kamaru fights Jack Della Maddalena, get an opportunity to see if Kamaru still has it, which I believe he does, and Jack Della Maddalena is a good fight for him. Good fight for him. And he's looking for those fights where he has a chance, a good opportunity to win. Fighting the Shavkats and the Garry Machados, the ones that have got all the spunk in their fire. I was like, and I know that Jack Della Maddalena is the same way. He's not.
Della Maddalena isn't really lacking in the spunk of wanting to win.
No. But he's not as fast twitch. He's not going to be throwing spinning attacks. He's not going to be that guy.
No, but he does have a fucking killer fucking hook. The guy is a fucking good stand-up, more boxer than kickboxer, and he can take a shot.
But who gets lost in all this, John, is Sean Brady.
Yeah, he does. But Sean's got to come back from, and he's won his last couple and he's looked really good doing it. But, when you have that one loss, and it was to Bilal, and it wasn't a close fight.
No,
it's not one of those ones you can just I get one win and I'm back in the same place. No, you're gonna have to get 3 or 4, and now you're back in that same location. They realize no, you're still that guy, and you're one of the best, and he is. I think Sean Brady's fantastic. Who are we talking about him matching up with though? I can't remember, but he's someone that is always going to be a problem for people in that weight class based upon strength, and he's good everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I'd like to see him fight Leon Edwards.
Be a great fight.
Yeah, because if Kamaru Usman's fighting Jack Della Maddalena, Shavkat is going to be fighting for the title against Bilal, and Ian Gary's going to be probably hanging out, waiting around. Remember Brady had a baby, Sean Brady, not him, but his wife.
Yep.
So, he got a little time to recover, get a little time to be on.
Men can't have babies.
No, he can have maternity leave. I don't give a shit what they're trying to tell you, buddy. They cannot have babies. They can't breastfeed either, by the way.
Please don't try.
No, please don't try. I mean, I like to play matchmaker in the situation. So you got Shavkat and Bilal, you got Kamaru and Jack Della Maddalena, you've got Colby Covington and Joaquin Buckley. I also want to see where Joaquin falls. If he beats Colby, I mean, that throws him into that full mix of everyone that's up there. And I'd like to see Sean Brady and Leon Edwards. Leon said he's got a fight coming up in the UK, I believe, in February. I think February or March, I think is when the show is supposed to be.
It was March.
Yeah. Sean's probably be ready. He'll be back from his maternity leave, and he'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Be a great fight.
That makes sense. I like to see that fight. So let's go ahead and hit the next one.
Why? Because you're going to say it's a robbery?
You know what's funny is I didn't even have to say it. The fact that you knew what fight I was thinking, it means you probably fucking agree with me. Let me tell you this, John. I got up to use the restroom as the 10 second bell went.
Yeah.
I got up to use the restroom, and I come back and they're interviewing Gane. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Dude, yeah. All you had to see was the look on Volkov's face when they read that. He stood there like, he's looking around like, what are you talking about? And you could tell that Cyril Gane thought he lost. And when a fighter thinks he lost, it kind of tells you something. He probably lost. But it all came down to one round. It really did. It was that second round and which way you went with it. But I mean, someone got hurt in that round, and you got to look, and it was a close fight. I give it. I'm not going to go total robbery, but it always looks bad when, the last round, Cyril Gane did nothing, holding on to a Kimura that, you're holding on to a Kimura grip. It's not a submission. And sitting there, it's like, how many times do we talk about when you don't have it? God damn it, Josh, I'm never going to get this. Then fucking let go of it. Go to something else. Get out of there. But no. Well, he can't hit me here, so I'm gonna sit here. But I actually thought, well, you're losing the fight. You're gonna give the fight away. It didn't go that way. The judges went the other way, but I looked at it and I thought Volkov came back and tied it up 1-1. I thought he was the better fighter this night, but the judges didn't agree.
We need to dock their pay.
It is.
I thought Volkov, he looked phenomenal, man. I thought he looked
good. I was very impressed with his ability to work on the ground. He's gotten better. So is Cyril Gane. It
only took him 15 years to get better.
But look, man, if you remember Volkov in Bellator, when he was in Bellator, dude, if the fight hit the ground, it was over. It was nothing there. And so the man has continued to progress. He's gotten better. We talk about, heavyweights, being able to fight way longer. He's right up there. He was 38, 39 years of age, but he's better now than he's ever been. And so I thought he put on a really good performance against a guy who had beaten him easily the first time they fought. So
yeah, I was very impressed, man. He was using the long range push kick and long range kicks, and then coming back with the same arm, same hand. Like he was throwing the right leg and then coming back with the right arm right after. So it was like as soon as one was retreating, the other one was coming out and was landing clean.
That damn back fist he hit him with was beautiful too. That spinning back fist
didn't go down. I got to be honest.
I was impressed. I was impressed.
Very impressive. He looked a little wobbled for a second, but then Volkov didn't jump on it and didn't try to get anything done. I think he just didn't want to jump into something big. Yeah. It's just smart on his part, but one of those fights, man. One of those fights where you just feel like if they would have done just a tiny bit more, had he tried to fight his way out of that Kimura and then was able to land a couple of big elbows or something along those lines, because it was a close fight, but I gave it to Volkov. And like I said, I walked to the bathroom with like 10 seconds left at the clapper. I came back and I was like, shit, man, what happened?
You left at the clapper, you left it in the crapper, and man, I'll tell you what, it was a crapper of a decision, in my opinion.
Speaking of crappers, let's talk about Bryce Mitchell and Crone Gracie.
My God.
I mean, is Crone stay with the UFC? You think they release?
No, I think they release.
Done.
Yeah. The experiment is gone. It doesn't matter what your name is when you're going to fight the way he did it. And look, you got to go and say, well, in the second round, he came close, and he did. That was the armbar was actually there for a second. It's good. You can't have someone jumping guard, pulling guard continuously. Bryce Mitchell should not get credit for any takedowns because he didn't do any takedowns. He did not want. He even said it at the end of it because I'm like, they go, that's a takedown. And that wasn't a takedown. Fucking Crone fucking pulled guard, and then I even texted you pulling guard and keeping a closed guard. Yeah, this is gonna go well. It's like, what the hell, man? If this sport has progressed, it's progressed. I know it has. People are so good at all these different things, and you can't be a jiu-jitsu stylist that really doesn't have any stand-up, doesn't have any true wrestling, and you're gonna pull guard and expect to win. Ain't gonna happen. It's very rare.
The first two fights on the card were supposed to be replacements for basically like the Evloev and Sterling and the Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith fights. I guess do you feel like always go with the ones that what are we doing? Like if you're the promoter, I know the UFC is known to do what the UFC is going to UFC. That's what they do.
Yeah. They have their plans.
Yeah, they have their plans. But John, this was like when you got Dominic Reyes, you got Smith, proven guys that they'll literally go out on their shield.
Yeah.
I think you should have put them on the main card. Both of them have fought for titles, came up short against John Jones, and everyone that's faced John Jones has come up short. So there's no.
Dominic was the first person I ever thought to beat John Jones. I'm being honest.
I would say
it was close.
Gus did too, but yeah, I say Gus did too. I think two people did.
I was there for that night. He did not.
Yeah, he did, John.
No, sorry.
Just go ahead and admit it to me. Just say I'm right. He beat him the first time.
I'm right.
Obviously, the
Okay,
second time
I'm
he
right.
did. But I feel like Evloev and Sterling, John, that was a way better fight than Bryce Mitchell and Crone. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Bryce's performance. He had a great performance, great finish, great job by him. The Choi and Landwehr fight, I don't think lived up to what they thought it would be. It was a very one-sided fight, very dominant fight.
But I understand why they put that in the position that they put it in.
Yeah, because Landwehr's a dog and he'll take a lot of punishment.
And he did.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He took a lot of punishment.
Yeah.
You know, it was I mean, he is getting the shit beat out of him, Josh.
Yep.
I mean, it was one of those you look at and you go, man, how much can this guy take? And you know, finally he was in the crucifix. And you got to stop it after a while when a guy's showing he can't get out.
Yeah.
And then Choi starts using elbows and stuff. It's like, you know, I always say, if you're in the crucifix, use elbows. The referees get all scared and they're going to stop the fight. That's what happened. But I mean, Nate Landwehr gave everything he could give. Yeah. He just was outclassed in the stand-up, and he really couldn't get the fight to the ground. He was, you know, trying at times, and he got tossed. And you know, he's just faced against a guy. You know, Choi is that guy. We saw him when he was really young. You know, he came to the UFC. He was 23 years of age, and he was, you know, called, you know, Superboy or whatever it was at the time. And he had some really good performances. He had the loss, I think, was the first loss to Cub Swanson. You know, but then he went away because he had, you know, he has to do military service in South Korea. Wasn't around for a while. It took him a while to come back. But, you know, coming back, he's a better fighter now than he ever was.
Yeah.
And his stand-up is clean, sharp. This is one of those ones, you know, it's like, I think it was Tank Abbott said that, you know, John McCarthy doesn't like, you know, fighter fortitude. Whatever, you know, I guess that's saying, you know, a fighter that's got heart like Nate Landwehr. I love a fighter like that. But I'll always say that when you have a fighter like Nate, a guy who is a tough, you know, big-hearted brawler for the most part, as far as that's the way he fights well, he gets guys into a brawl with him. You're going to have a hard time against a true technician like Choi when it comes to the stand-up. He's going to pick you apart. He's throwing sharper, cleaner, more technically proficient, you know, shots, and they're landing, and yours are whizzing by. So you look and you go, I like Nate Landwehr, and I think he's fun to watch, but he was just outclassed in this fight.
Yeah, he was outclassed, outmatched in every aspect of the fight, whether the wrestling, whether the striking, whether the top position, everything. Which surprises me, though, is when guys don't. Now, I know it's not easy, but I'm simply saying, like, he had no answer for how to get out of that position. And it's like some of these guys that still have no answer for how to get out of the figure four around the waist when someone has your back. Yeah. And I'm surprised they haven't spent more time. If someone gets you in a crucifix, it's the hand that's locked into the legs. You just reach down and grab the ankle and hold it in place or try to drag it over towards your legs. And then you kind of obviously like skirt your toes or your feet over that way and try and hook it and pull them into like a half guard or into a full guard. And that's what opens that leg. And so that it makes it available for you to either pull them into full or half guard, or maybe even potentially lock their legs into a figure four and put them into like a figure four around their knees and then go to the top position. It baffles me that more fighters don't know this. And I'm like, these are just, and look, and there's a lot of things I don't know. So I'm not going to sit up here and stand up on my fucking high stool and be like, oh yeah, I know that. No, John, I think a lot of our listeners know, like I sit here and go, fuck, is that a rule? Really, John? Like, you know, like there's years and years of us trying to figure out. You listen to the announcers, not just the UFC announcers, all the announcers trying to talk about what the rules are. And they still have no concept of, like, they're still messing up on everything. And not just the rules, but then it just goes into like techniques and jiu-jitsu techniques. And I still get the Darce and the Anaconda mixed up every once in a while on live air. You know, I was calling fights on Bellator. It's like, fuck, I get a guy on my earpiece like, yo, that's an Anaconda, bro. That's not a. I'm like, yeah. You know what I meant, though. Okay, the choke. All right. But this is, it's, I don't know, John. It's, I just was watching, when I was watching Landwehr try to get out of there, I just felt bad for him. Cause like, man, just something so simple and just just trapping the leg in one spot, walking your feet towards it and hooking it to throw yourself out of that position. It seems so easy to me, but It's not. And the same thing with escaping the back. I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done.
But I want you to think back on this, because this is what I've seen time and time again. Fighters will get they'll get taught something, and it's one way of getting out of something, and they try it and it works for them, and it's like, okay, that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work against everyone. You got to have multiple ways. And I've seen it too many times where a fighter, knows this is how I get out of this, and then that technique does not work against the opponent they're against right now, and they're lost. They have no idea how to do anything different. And that's why I always say, man, you've always got to be in the gym and learning multiple ways of how to deal with certain situations that can occur. And when you look and you say, hey, put yourself in these horrible positions in the gym, so when they happen in the cage, it's not something that shocks you. It's not something that all of a sudden now we got a problem. This is every day I get out of this. Okay, it didn't work this way. Let me go to my plan B, and you work those different ways of doing things. But not everyone does that, and they I've seen world champions have one way of getting out of something, and when that one person they're fighting, it doesn't work, you can see it on their face, like, oh shit, and it happens.
Yep. I mean, I had one way of getting out of my mount, but it always worked for me until one day when I trained with BJ Penn, it didn't work for me.
Hey, there you go.
Like, son of a bitch. I could get out from heavyweight wrestlers. I can get out from all these other top jiu-jitsu guys. It worked on Lyoto Machida. It worked on Dan Henderson. It worked on Cain Velasquez. It worked on everybody. Fucking BJ Penn, I couldn't get away from him. I couldn't get him off me. I was like, this son of a bitch. Yeah. What the hell? Just there's certain techniques that just, and I was stuck down there just like fucking flailing around on my back trying to fucking flop around and get him off me. I'm going back to the Bryce Mitchell fight. I thought the slam had a lot to do with the win. I
think it had everything to do with it.
Yeah,
when he took him down the way he did, because he, Crone jump guard. Mm-hmm. And you saw Bryce bring him off to the side and try to bring him down hard, and he did. And I think the slam set everything up. He was rocked by his head hitting the canvas.
I agree.
And that was the beginning of the end right there. The elbows finished it, but it was the slam that set that whole thing.
Yeah, because the next shot he was out, and the next shot after he slammed him the very first shot. It didn't land that hard, and he was already out. And then he hit him two more times after that. It was over.
Yeah.
And then Choi, great performance, dominant performance. Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is going through a lot right now. People keep talking to me, were texting me. I did a bunch of live videos in between each fight that I wanted to talk about. And it's probably best when fighters look. There's certain times, like my dad died 10 days before I fought Dwayne Ludwig, and it just felt right. My dad was always a guy that just was like, hey man, like whether I die or not, like you got to go on with your life. He's that kind of person. And so I just and sure, it was hard to train for those 10 days, and it was a lot to get through, and it was a lot to planning, funeral arrangements and with family, and we had to go to Idaho for it. And then I came back down and fought in Fresno. It was a lot on my plate. And, and then fighting Dwayne, but going through this with a friend just recently passing, a lot of emotions. You're getting older. I was younger when it happened. So it was like that straight motivation of like, fuck no, you're not going to stop me. I'm going to do this. This is me. This is my life. When you're this age, you start thinking about all the other things. Like, man, life is so short. What am I still doing this for? Like you start questioning all those things. And that's what I saw on him tonight. Now, I'm glad he didn't make a decision, even though he said, probably it could be possibly my last fight in here. But he left some room for some debate on that. And I'm glad. It was like the whole Peyton Manning appeal after he lost his last Super Bowl or whatever. He's like, I'm going to go home and think about it. And I'm going to figure it out and discuss with my, family and stuff. Never make the decision right there on the spot. Never, because it's just too much emotions going on. I'm glad he didn't do it, even though he hinted that way. I'm glad he didn't come out and say, and lay my gloves down and retire and walk out of there. And Dominic Reyes looked good, man. He looked great. The elbows are going to be great for him.
Yeah. I agree with you in the fact that, I don't think he should have taken the fight, stayed with the fight when the person, I don't know how to say it. When a person that has been there in your corner for all your fights, I want you to think about you, and all of a sudden, Bob Cook is not there.
Yeah.
As soon as you go back to the corner and he's not there talking to you, it's different. It's strange. It's not the norm. And so that makes it a very difficult situation. And then when on top of that, it's because, your friend died, and that, and it's just one of those, it was a bad situation for him to be fighting under. I know he was trying to do it because it was like, I have this pent up frustration and this anger based upon losing my friend. Well, that's the first thing that should tell you shouldn't be fighting.
Yep.
We talk about it all the time. You don't fight angry, Josh. You fight angry, you lose
every time.
And it's one of those. When you talk about should Anthony retire, that's up to Anthony. He's getting up there as far as age.
And fight numbers too. He's got like 70 fights.
He's got a ton. He's got more fights than he does age problems. As far as he's been around for a long time. I love Anthony as a person. He's a great person. He's been a great fighter. He's been great for the UFC. He came in when they were kind of in that position of, how's this guy? He went on a tear. He looked great. He fought all the very best. And if he decides to pull the plug, great. You had a fantastic career. I think he's going to have, the UFC using him on their broadcast. He does a lot of the desk work and stuff. He's great there. So he's got something to go to, and it's a good thing to go to. And you're going to have to pull the plug on the fighting sometimes. And maybe, the loss of his friend is that time to tell him, hey, if I can't have it the way I've had it for my entire career, then it's time for me to say I'm done with it. And there's no problem with that. But whatever he decides, the best of luck to him. I love the guy. And, it just wasn't the right call in fighting. But, sometimes, your heart tells you something when your head should be telling you something else.
Yeah, I agree. Then Gorimbo versus Vicente Luque. Everyone's like, Vicente looked great. He looked great. I'm like, well, first off, he's known for his striking. And second off, most of his submissions, whenever he's caught him, has been that choke. And
Darce or Anaconda.
Yeah, Darce or Anaconda. So it's like, did he look great, or did he just fall back into what someone?
Well, you can't. What was the time on that, George? It was what
40 or 42 seconds,
50 seconds. I want to say.
I think it was
total, something like that. You sit there and you say, he looked great. Well,
52.
He looked good because he won the fight and he won it fast.
Yeah.
You don't know. Well, what is it, George? Come on, man.
52 seconds.
Yeah, 52.
52. Okay. So you can't sit there and say, that he looked bad because he won the fight, but you didn't get that, that measurement that you're looking for of, hey, how did he, how was he moving? Was his movement good? Was he setting things up? Was he countering well? Was he using lateral movement to keep, his opponent from all that wasn't there. Now, I thought going into this fight, if I see the old Vicente Luque, he's going to win this fight. If I see what we've seen, not in his last fight, but the ones before, Gorimbo is fast and he's athletic, a little wild, but he'll end up, probably beating him if Luque is not right. But Luque was right. He went out there, he did what he was supposed to. You got to figure Gorimbo was coming into that punch that he landed. That intensified a little bit. And when he went down, I thought, I'll give Luque credit. I thought he was very smart not to go after trying to punch him out. He went right after, the submission that was there for him. As soon as his arm was in, then he just kind of stuck it a little bit deeper to get it past that, armpit area and locked in the anaconda. The only thing he didn't do was grab the leg, but he didn't need to. He put him out. And so, look, if I have to say, was it a good performance? Adequate performance? It's a good performance. He went out there and he put away a tough guy.
Yeah, Evloev versus Sterling. John, before I talk about that, this episode is brought to you by BetUS. YouTube 150 is the promo code. Also, Drink Element, the best hydration product in the business, right there. Link is down below in the descriptions. They will send you a bonus package with every purchase through our link down below. Great product, man. My son's whole lacrosse team ordered boxes. And so they're like, yeah, we like the cans. Some of the kids like the powder because they can water it down a little bit more. It's not as salty for them. So they were all talking, using it today. They're like, hey, I like the salt packets. Thank you so much. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, your parents bought them. Don't thank me.
Yeah.
Why you thank me?
I had my brother-in-law is out, visiting, since my father-in-law lives on the farm. He's out visiting his dad and obviously my wife. And he says, I said, hey, you want something else to drink? And he says, yeah, I just want something with water. Sir, let me give you an element. He goes, what's an element? And so I give him the element and he goes, damn, that's good.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, look what he goes, I'm going to get some of those.
Yeah.
Hey, see, another satisfied customer.
They're good when they're cold, man. Like if you put ice into the element, it's so good. And then this one's here when they're in the can.
I don't think I could drink it warm.
Oh, I don't. It's not. It doesn't taste very good warm. It doesn't. But for me, I like it cold. I like it ice cold. So I put it in the little freezer outside to the point where it's almost frozen. Get a little slushy in it. It's freaking awesome. It's awesome.
We have that pellet ice. That's really kind of soft.
Yes,
perfect.
Like a slushy type ice, the old school one. Yep. Yeah, I feel like it's like an old 50s one that used to get out of the old vending machines, like the old what is it? RC Coca-Cola like vending machine.
RC Cola.
RC Cola, yeah.
RC Cola.
Also, too, I want to remind you guys that we are continuing our partnership with OnlyFans. Head on over there, subscribe to us over there. It is free. We do a live show over there at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. Extra content is on that platform as well. I've been posting a little bit here and there. I got to hit the comment section over there as well. So make sure you guys subscribe to us over there. It is free. Like, look, don't just follow us. There's other fighters on there as well. DJ's on there, Stipe's on there, Nick Diaz is on there. You've got all these cyborgs on there, Luke Rockhold, AJ. I keep mentioning all the same names. You also got pro surfers. You also got Formula One racers. They've created a nice little platform for pro athletes over there. So if you are subscribed to us over there, you will not see it in the smut unless you follow those smut channels. So just follow the sports channels. You guys will be good, man. You can give your wife access to it with no concerns. All right, so make sure you guys subscribe to us first. Well, thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. Evloev versus Sterling. John, this was a fantastic fight. When I use that little analogy of two ferrets getting after it on the ground, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This was a fantastic fight.
It was absolutely the best fight of the night. Let's be honest. If I'm going to look and say what fight was the one that I enjoyed the most, I thought that Aljamain Sterling and Evloev went out and put on just a grappling demonstration at times. They landed good shots in the stand-up. They went back to I'll tell you what, both of them have very flexible shoulders because some of those wizards they were going after and I'm like, ow, ooh, that's going to hurt. Man, they were just the flow of how they were going after it. I enjoyed every bit of it. I thought, I did think that Evloev won the fight, but I thought Aljamain was so close and put on a performance that tells me, man, he's right there in the 145 pound weight division, man. He is he's performing well. I thought he actually performed better in the stand-up than I thought he would as far as I give him credit. He looked good there. He was aggressive. I mean, the difference between this fight and his fight with Cater is night and day as far as, the chances he took, things that he went after, some of the shots that he took that hurt. And he came right back and stuff. Aljamain Sterling looked absolutely phenomenal in that fight. I thought, he lost it if you're going to go by rounds. I had it 29-28, but man, just a great featherweight matchup.
I was on the fence whether he lost or not. I was leaning more towards Sterling only because he won 3.5 minutes of the third round, and he lost the last minute and 30. But he lost the last minute and 30 a little bit more than he won the first 3.5. But just the time frame of but look, it goes back into the judges. What's the last thing they saw? What's the thing that stuck out the most in their mind?
Yeah.
That you lost the last minute 30 of the fight. It wasn't like of the second round or the first round. You lost the last minute 30 of the fight. Like if you take by Japan rules, like like when you're in Japan fighting, they judge the fight in its entirety, but they also judge it. Second part,
who's going after trying to finish?
Who's going after the finishes and who's finishing the strongest at the end of the fight? That's how they're judging it. And so, look, I thought Aljo did a lot of great things. And I was like, if Aljo would have won, I wouldn't have batted up. I'd been like, okay, cool. I was leaning towards him anyways winning. It's funny because I'm going to wrap all this up at the end of it all when we're done talking about the card, about some stuff. But it's just funny because Evloev, though, he looked good. I thought, there's things that he needs to work on. Obviously, he needs to work on his stand-up. Because if he can't get Taporia down, if he ever does fight him, he's in a fucking world of hurt. He's in a world of hurt, and the wrestling, the scrambling, and all those things, man. I mean, Aljo looks I think Aljo with obviously this is a shitty loss. It sucks to have this type of loss. You're losing to a guy who's undefeated, who's going to probably fight for the title. Not next, but maybe one more after that. He's right there. He's on the right path to fight for the title. Aljamain Sterling, though, to me, he's going to have to find this is like a bump in the road at 145. I think he's going to make a good run now all the way to the title. After this fight, I think he is so much. I feel like his chin's better at 145. I feel like he looks more relaxed at 145. I feel like he sees all the punches coming at 145. They're not as fast at 145 as they are. I mean, there's some of them are, but they're not as fast as like Sugar and some of those guys at 135. I think it was a good move for him. Now that he's filled out, and I saw him next to Evloev, I was like, wow, you got both of them bigger than him, and Evloev looks like fucking Greek god.
God, I tell you, man. I was like, I'm looking at Evloev and I'm like, Jesus Christ, did you ever eat anything bad?
Yeah, send me that. I was like, bro, let me send you a fucking.
Sterling was the same thing, man. Sterling looked fantastic. So
I'm almost sending Evloev. I'm like, hey, here's some French fries, bitch. Eat this before.
I just want to send him a bunch of canola oil.
Great fight though. I would agree with you, John. Now that I think about it, best fight of the night.
Yeah.
Best fight of the night in terms of
I thought so.
Strategy and strategic planning and this and that. I thought it was a great fight. Look, but this is the thing though. I pay for pay-per-views, and if I'm the UFC, if I pay for pay-per-views, I want to see the best quality fights. Now, maybe that's just me because I'm a former fighter. I want to see the technique. I want to see the fight IQ. I want to see the game planning. I want to see what the cornering is in between. I want to hear all this stuff and see all this. No, I don't want to see people jumping guard on the pay-per-view. I don't want to see people jumping guard. And to be honest, Choi and Landwehr, I like them both as fighters, but it's not pay-per-view level. So when I'm spending $80, those two fights are not pay-per-view level. But I did get the Dominic Reyes and the Smith. I get it. I got them for free. But let's just say like, hey, I just going to show up to a friend's house to watch them, and I'm going to miss those two now because I got to get over to my friend's house, and it's a 15-minute drive, and I couldn't watch those fights. Now I got to go on ESPN and watch them later. I'll just kind of, now I've already heard the results and I've lost it, and maybe it was a good fight, maybe it wasn't. These two fights deserve to be on the main card, especially after watching the first two fights that were on pay-per-view. I felt like Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, both have earned their stripes, deserve to be on there. And Sterling and Evloev kind of proved that they had the best technique and the best shit tonight. They deserve to be on the main card. I mean, obviously hindsight's 50-50, so the UFC's going, fuck, man, I didn't see that coming. But,
there's no way as the person that is the matchmaker and the roster decision maker as far as where these guys are going to be on the card. There's no way to know that that Landwehr is going to get dominated in the stand up the way he was. You look and you go, well, he'll he's going to try to brawl. He's going to try to suck Choi into the brawl. Choi's it should be, if he get Choi down, he'll do well. It just didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Choi was just that much better than him. So you can't. No one can prognosticate everything when it comes to the fight game. That's why we fight. That's why the whole thing, that's the whole point of all of this. Mm-hmm. If you knew exactly what was going to happen, there's no point in watching it. So that's true. I look at it and I go, I got to see them all. I get those for free. The fact that I got the Aljamain Evloev fight, for free. Thank you very much. That was a fantastic fight. And thank you to both of those fighters for everything they did. Because if you want to see, when people say, "Oh, grappling is boring," watch that fight. No, it's not. It's boring when people just sit or pull guard.
Yep. Brian Battle versus Randy Brown. I had Randy Brown winning this fight.
Yeah, you're gonna get some people. I had Brian Battle winning it, and it all came down to the. I want to say it was the third round. I could be wrong. It could have been the second, but Randy Brown landed a good shot that hurt Brian Battle. You could see it, but he didn't go down or anything, but it hurt him. But Brian Battle then took the rest of the round. And it really comes down to, do you give it to Randy Brown off of hurting him one time, or did everything that Brian Battle did make up for that, and take it? And that was the question I think that the judges looked at. I think one of them said, I think that shot by Randy Brown was the big difference maker in the round. And I think the other two said, yeah, it was a good shot, but then Brian Battle came back and dominated, the rest of the round, landed the better strikes throughout, and showed that, hey, I overcame that one shot. It didn't put me on the ground. So it was a close fight. And I thought there was moments that Randy Brown really looked good. Mm-hmm. There was moments that Brian Battle looked good, and it just was a back and forth, and it was a tough fight. This is one of those ones I have no problem if Randy Brown won. And I have no problem that Brian Battle won. This was one of those, it was close. It really depended on, I think, how you judge the one round.
Okay, well then let me ask you this. How do you judge, if you're a judge, do you take into consideration that he didn't make weight by 4 pounds? No, you obviously can't. You obviously can't, but I'm saying, should we start? These guys got to start by half a point.
I've always said, look, I have said that, you want people to make weight, then start it off with, it's a point deduction. You start off with you have 1 point less. So at the start of that fight, if you win the round, it's a 9-9 round. Mm-hmm. You don't get anything. If you lose the round, you're down 10-8, because you've got to, the money part, when you look at it and you go, okay, Randy Brown gets some of Brian's money. Well, sometimes that weight does make a difference, and it might have made a difference in this battle right here. But you look and you go, well, Randy Brown's making less money because he only gets a show. He doesn't get his, win money.
That's a lot more money than that 10%.
Hello. Because, that the 20% that Brian is losing doesn't all go to Randy.
Yeah.
Which it should, in my opinion, but it doesn't. So I look, and it is one of those things. I think that, hey, you want it to be where no one wants to miss weight, because it's not just money. Because as long as I win, I'm getting more money. I'm getting my win purse too. And I want it to be where you have less chance of winning based upon it. You don't have more chance. You got to balance it out and say, does someone have more chance in winning the fight by not losing those 4 pounds, not dying? And I don't like the whole weight cut, and I don't want to put someone in a sauna longer, but, that's part of, your choice to be in that weight class. You can't make that weight. You didn't suffer like Randy Brown did to make that weight. Then you're going to go into that fight, not only losing money, but down a point.
Yeah, John, I've legit had people that I was sitting in the sauna cutting weight with, and they're like, yeah, I'm just in here for 10 minutes. I'm like, you have like 9 pounds. And I've not just one, multiple fighters have said, yeah, I'm not going to make weight. I'm just going to take my 20% cut, and then I'm going to just come in, 3-4 pounds over. I'm going to kill myself.
Tell me, do you think that some fighters actually use it sometimes as, hey, I'm purposely doing this because, I know I'm going to lose money, but I think it's a benefit to me against this opponent?
I just said that. It's exactly what they do. They strategically plan it out. They sit in the sauna so their opponent thinks that they're cutting weight too, like they're suffering as well. In reality, they know they're never going to make weight. Yeah. So then their opponent goes all the way down. Even Randy Brown said he knew he wasn't going to make weight the day before. He could have just told me he wasn't going to make weight, and then I didn't have to kill myself to get it down. Because
I agree with that.
Honest, that extra 4 pounds is the worst part of cutting weight. The extra 2 is even worse. But the last 4 is the beginning of fucking misery. Like I go to bed 4 to 5 pounds over, hopefully sleep off a pound, then cut my last 4 in the morning, before you got to step on the scale. So you're sleeping on an empty stomach. You're fucking starving. You don't really get a great night's sleep, all of those things. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Literally went to bed probably, 6 pounds, 7 pounds over, probably ate a meal, woke up in the morning, probably went down to the sauna, hung out for a little bit, cut about a pound because it came off easy because he ate the night before, knowing he was never going to make weight if 4 or 5 pounds over. I don't know.
I agree with you on it. No,
yeah,
look, I
to
totally agree with you. And I do think that there has to be something more than what we have now, because it's just not fair. You are at a disadvantage going into the fight based upon someone who didn't do the work that you had to do to get to a certain point.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. Because now, not only that, but like if he would have cut all the weight, would Brian Battle have been the same fighter in round 3?
That's again, the whole,
so what if I want to know
the
these
whole things. You got to look at the whole package. And I don't think he would. No, would he have had the same energy? Probably not.
And Randy Brown looked like he was starting to slow down a little bit in that third round.
Yeah.
And it was because he killed himself to get to the weight. That's like I feel like we need to have this discussion sooner rather than later. So who do we talk to? Do I need to go to Andy Foster and be like, hey, you need to be the first state to start doing this? This is ridiculous. We've got to make some changes. This is horrible.
Go to him. Yeah.
Because it really is. Like I said, I've sat in plenty of saunas. I've sat around workout rooms, and they're like, yeah, I'm not making weight. And I'm like, you're not going to even try? They're like, oh, no, I'll cut a little bit. I'll get close just so it doesn't look bad, whatever it is. But it's 20%, whether I miss it by 1 or I miss it by 15. They don't, they're like, yeah, I don't care. And especially when they know it's against an opponent that is going to take the fight no matter what. Although, most fighters will take the fight no matter what, especially if you're at the top, right? You're like, unless you miss it by 6 to 10 pounds somewhere in there, like, yeah, I'm not fucking fighting you then. I got too much to lose. Yeah. But if you're within that, 1 to 3, they're going to for sure take it. That 4 is kind of the sweet spot. I say it's more the 3, but that last 2 and 3 is the worst part. And I've seen world-class fighters say, I'm not going to make the weight. I'm going to make sure that I have, I make sure I don't kill myself, make sure I feel good, get a good night meal tonight, and then fight tomorrow. They know what they're doing. I'd rather lose my 20% and get the win.
There's not a doubt in my mind that many do have a plan when it comes to it. And that's,
absolutely.
You have to make it to where they look and go, I have to make it. I can't go into this fight down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because John, like I said, in some of these conversations, they're like, yeah, I had to show up, 9-10 pounds over. So I dieted down the weekend before I came, got my weight down. And then during the week, I just pretty much, snacked here and there, and got my workouts in, made sure that I was always fueled up and hydrated. And I just kind of stayed at the 8 to 10 pounds over when I showed up, sometimes 11 to 12, depending on what the fighter is and how well they know they cut weight. And then the big fights, they're like, nah, I didn't make weight. I'm not going to bother trying to make the weight. I want to make sure that I feel good. I'm going to go hard 5. I'm going to go hard 3. I'm like, yeah, because most of them for them, the way to win is to push a nasty pace. And they can't do that against someone who they feel is physically bigger and stronger. So they don't cut the weight. They're like, why? I'm going to just fucking push. And they know that other fighter is physically bigger and stronger, and they tend to slow down because they make the weight. So if my only way to win is to try and drag you into deep waters, why would I kill myself that extra 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds? I just got to make it look close. I got to get within that 3 to 4. So then the fighter doesn't go, no, fuck you. I'm not fighting you. I want to make sure that they say yes. I'll lose my 20%, then I'll get my win bonus. And sure, maybe sometimes it's backfired. That sucks. But the reality is if they win, they get their full purse.
Oh yeah.
So outside of the 20%, they get their win bonus. They're not taking the 20% from the loss, from the show money. So I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna have to give Andy Foster a call. What's going on? Come on, dude. Be the first. Lead the way. Eric Anders versus Chris Weidman.
This is one of those ones, man. This was supposed to be in New York. It ended up, being canceled there. They put it on this card. And this is one of those ones, man. I really I appreciate everything that Chris Weidman has done in his career, and I was able to be there and watching him when he was on his run and he was undefeated and he was just he was smashing people. It's too many injuries, too much time, too many things have occurred. He's just not, he's not the same fighter.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the speed that he used to have, and he was never super fast, but he has slowed down even more. He's not able to get shots the way he was. You could take a look and say, did he win the first round against Anders? Okay. But then the second was just brutal. And I don't want to, this is nothing against Chris. I think he's a fantastic person, family man. He was an incredible fighter, but it's passing him by. And there's got to be that person that tells him, hey, you shouldn't take any more abuse. Yeah. There's no reason for it here. You did your thing. You were fantastic. You were champ. Don't go out in this way of, taking these fights. And I know he was upset by the stoppage of the fight. He shouldn't have been. He was given a ton of time to get himself out and was never able to. And you start putting both hands over your face, to stop what's occurring. That's not stopping it. That's just hiding from it. And that's when we say, we'll stop the fight on you. And so, Eric Anders, he looked good, but, he's fighting a guy. He's not fighting the Chris Weidman that once was.
No, but there's guys that should have retired 3 or 4 fights before they did.
They do,
and the UFC kept him around. Shogun Hua was one of them.
Oh,
he should have been retired, 4 or 5 fights beforehand. Chris Weidman, I think, can kind of call his own shots, but I also think, though, too, he's a lot smarter about how he'll handle the situation. I think he'll be done. He may try to do one more if they're going to have one, coming up in the Jersey area, New York area, on the East Coast, Philadelphia, something like that. He may, but I don't think he should. Now, look, it's his life, his career. It's what he wants to do. He's earned that much. But this is one of those fights you just saw. He slowed down, being on bottom, had no answer to get up. That's not the Chris Weidman we all knew.
No.
He was the guy that couldn't be taken down. That was one. 2 was he was the guy on top doing the work of the damage, getting the submissions, cutting you open with elbows. Like, he was the guy from the top position, and the wrestling was fucking, he snatched a single and sat people to their butts faster than most. And he made it look so smooth. I was like, holy shit. I didn't know this dude could wrestle like this. I knew he was a great wrestler, but I was like, damn, to do it in MMA, it's not the same. He was crushing dudes with it, just sitting with their butt, getting the ground and pound, elbows, submissions. He was phenomenal. John, I'm going to go ahead and rush through. Joshua Van, I think, should end up fighting Choi next. That would be a great fight with them on the fight.
I like Joshua Van.
Yes.
He is a tough young kid, man, and he's good.
I would agree. And then Michael Chiesa, great job by him tonight.
He looked good.
I thought he looked good. Yeah.
I thought he looked good too.
And then I missed these first 2 fights because I was just getting back from my son's lacrosse tournament. But Chase Hooper with the armbar submission.
Well, I'll tell you, let's be honest. We talked about Chase Hooper, when he was younger, when he entered the UFC, and he was a boy. He's at least filled out now. We've talked about that.
Have you seen the side-by-side pictures of the first fight in the UFC and then his fight today?
No,
they had side-by-side pictures on Instagram, and literally he, like you're just talking about, like just skin and bones.
Yeah.
When his first couple of fights in the UFC.
He's actually looking like a man.
He's filled out. He's got muscles. He's got a little bit of abs.
And he's learned how to be at least a stand-up fighter. He's using good technique. He's using a jab. He's using footwork. You look and you go, oh, you've turned into an actual fighter. And when it hits the ground, man, he's slick. The armbar that he pulled off on Clay was beautifully done. Clay did everything he could to get out and put himself into a bad position to try to jump over and get it. And Hooper caught him midway. You watch his leg cross over on the face. You go, oh man, just beautifully done. He looked great. It's again, here's another guy. I love Clay.
Yeah,
it's time. You're in those fights like that, and you're not competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't from the start. It was clear Chase Hooper is going to win this thing.
Yeah.
And that's whenever you had a Clay Guida fight, it was, hey, this guy's the Energizer Bunny. He's just going to keep trucking and keep coming after you. And it's just not there.
John, I listed these fights. I was like, hey, you know what? Ian Garry, I said, could win by a boring fight. You and I had talked about that last show. And if I was to take the bets on the Bet US, he was the underdog. I think get like plus 220 or something like that. Gracie was a plus 500. I was like, hey, if I'm going to take that bet like he was a plus 550. Sorry. If I was to take that bet, I'd spend like 10, 15 bucks on it. Yeah. Asakura I had him winning by either the first or second round knockout, or I had Pantoja winning by submission anywhere in the fight. So that worked out. But I mean, a lot of these fights that I'm picking, I'm a dog chaser. You know that, John.
Yeah.
I chase the dog.
That's okay.
Most guys don't. They basically are, I'm going to bet the favorite and this. Go right ahead. You guys do that. I'd rather spend $10 and have an opportunity to win however much than chase and spend 120 and then lose it and not, like you're going to make only $8 or $15. So I'm not going to spend the 120 to make, 40, $50. I'd rather spend the $5 and have the potential to make it more. So those are my fights. I had Randy Brown to win. I had Aljo to win. Those two fights obviously didn't plan out. They were super close. Those were my picks. So if I went back through it, I had Ian Garry to win a boring fight. I had Crone to win by submission. I had Asakura to win by first round or second round KO or TKO. Or I had Pantoja to win by submission. Randy Brown to win. Aljo to win. Both came up just short on both those fights. It just was, I just was so frustrated, John. So frustrated.
You know what?
They were all dogs.
That's the whole, look, there's a reason it's a lot easier to call who you think's going to win than call a bet, because the odds change it to where, wow, I can't put out that kind of money to put it on that guy, so I'll go with the dog. It's okay. That's why it's called gambling.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it, right? I spent $10 for 15. I think 15 on the Crone fight. Had he won, I know it was $15. Sucks I'm out $15. But had he won, I would have won almost 300.
If he had caught that arm bar.
Yes, I was like, go. Look, picking him to win the fight is one thing, but picking him to win by submission,
doesn't
paid out. It paid
There's
out well.
No other way he was going to win.
Yeah, there was no other way. No. Although he did come out and land a hard, clean shot on Bryce. And I was like, oh, is he going to knock him out? No, hit the submission, drop him, then jump on the submission. I was yelling for TV. But, that's what kind of makes it fun. Look, if you bet on a bunch of little fights, bet on a bunch of fights, and it's basically just like, hey, put $5 down. I always try to bet on the dogs because it's just, for me, it makes it more fun. The low risk, high reward kind of thing. If I'm losing $5, I'm losing $8, I'm losing $12. It sucks. But if you do hit, it's kind of nice to get that, 120 for only $10, something like that. It's fun. So if you start off, like for me, right? Sometimes I'll start off with $50 and I'll be like, okay, look, I'm going to spend $50 on these many fights, and go from there.
All good.
One of the guys that I follow, he bet on 2 fights. I can't remember who it was. One to win. Who was it? I'm going to go through this real quick. He bet on Chase Hooper to win by submission. He bet on somebody else to win by submission. And it was a $25 bet that turned into $3,200. Did
he parlay it?
There was one other, but all three. It was all three. I think the one.
So he parlayed a three fight parlay.
Yeah, the one that didn't win was Shavkat to win by submission. So yeah, so if had Shavkat won by submission, brutal. Yeah, he would have won. Yeah, for like $20 or something like that, he would have won like $3,000. So that sucks. That's the betting game. And they also, I just saw the stats on basically coming out saying how that parlays are like the number one way people lose money. They never hit. Yeah. They never hit. That's what keeps.
No, because you'll hit 5 of them and the 6th one loses.
Yeah,
but just to see, you miss on the first one, the next 5 win. It's always that way.
Well, John, what's funny is there's a guy right now who's hitting all the what's it called? I guess they call it like the fab, the whatever, the most difficult ones to gamble on. It's like whoever can win the Major League Baseball, the Super Bowl, MLS, like La Liga League or whatever, like whoever wins the championships, right? Liga? Yeah, there's like 5 of them, right? Like of all the major sports. And if you hit them all, like you bet like $100, you bet $1,000, whatever it is, and it pays out like almost $1 million. Something crazy. Yeah. So you just take your chances.
I do it for the 100. I won't do it for the 1,000.
Yeah, right. $1,000 for $1 million. Who knows? But I guess 2 years ago, some guy won it. I don't know. I got to look more into it. But yeah, he got to the finals. I thought he won it. Well, hey, George, is there anything else you want to chat about? Is there some news? Is there one? I know there was like some hot stuff you were glamoring about. But if you want to talk about one
clamoring,
was it glamoring or clamor? It's clamoring.
Clamoring.
Because we're going to talk about before. I don't want to get into any fight announcements. I want to talk about the fight announcements on Tuesday Night Live. I want to talk about it then. And so I know we've got these fights that were announced tonight. You've got Sean Strickland versus DDP.
You just said you don't want to get into them. Now you get into them.
I'm not getting into them.
I know.
I'm saying Willie's Dang versus Suarez. Don't you fuck with me. Look, for someone who had a really bad week this week, don't fuck with me this week.
That's YouTube's fault. I actually did everything pretty well.
He's not like the Tasmanian devil. Go ahead.
Think like him. Merab, he got into an altercation today. You want to talk about that? How he can't
let's talk
keep
about
his little hands off the fans?
Yep, let's talk about that.
Merab, keep your hands off the fans.
Let's talk about that, and then let's have a little fun with this. These other two. So let's talk about Merab. Look, Merab, just you're the champion right now. That's one. 2 is your pocketbook's getting fatter. 3 is it will get smaller if you go hitting a fan. It doesn't matter if they hit you first. Doesn't matter. Like, sure, you could probably get yourself out of it. Just leave it alone, man. This is multiple times he's had altercation with fans. Stop. That's no different. Like, I like to argue with the trolls on the internet, but look, none of them are going to jump through my phone, or I'm not going to jump through their phones and slap them around, even though I'd like to every once in a while when I'm sitting on the shitter, because that's where I do all my best trash talking. But let's not do this. Let's not do this. Like, he's got to stop. I mean, the best advice you can give is just remember, man, you're getting a fat paycheck the next time you fight. That's the thing. These people can stop that from happening. I mean, you'll eventually maybe get down the line, or you can get in so much trouble that you'll end up going to jail. It's not worth it, man. Collect that money. Make that. You worked this hard to get there. Don't let some fucking Joe Blow in the stands get after you. Well said.
Well said.
There you go, John.
As simple as it gets. Well, I'm gonna pull out another fighter. Look at Connor.
Yeah,
I'm not saying, and whether guilty or not, look at the money he's losing based upon this one court case, because everything is going down now, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason for you to put yourself in those situations. You've got to be smart in understanding, hey, I only have so much time to make money, and I'm not going to give it to some idiot because he pisses me off and I go and I smack him. You've got to say, that person doesn't fucking mean shit to me. What you're saying, I could give a shit about. So all you got to do is look at him and go, hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
Goodbye. But fighters are fighters for a reason. And sometimes the smart choice is not the one they pick. And right now, Merab is getting pulled into things that he should not. He's a good person. He thinks everybody else should be good people around him. There's good people that are going to try to push his buttons just because of he is the champ and they want to see if they can get a rise out of him. Don't allow him to get that.
Yeah.
Don't let him win.
The last thing I want to leave you guys on is a very hilarious moment and fun moment. So we're going to avoid the negativity and leave you guys on this night with a very fun moment. This is the fun moment. DC trying to sing a Christmas carol.
Oh, Jesus.
It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. The UFC 310 weigh-in show starts right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go!
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I'll tell you what, right now someone should sue his ass for singing that thing, whatever. That's not singing.
Bro, you butchered my song. I would sue you.
That's not
cease and
singing.
desist would be on the way. Get that shit off the internet.
Santa, Jesus, all of them. Sue DC.
Man, I'll tell you.
Man, you obliterated my song, dog.
There's
That
a
was
difference
brutal.
between singing and howling. That's howling.
And then I got one more funny one by Joe Rogan at the weigh-ins as well. This was funny. as
Oh,
hell.
dude.
This was great.
Stay alive, ladies and gentlemen. None of this be possible.
He goes,
What did he
if you
say?
guys couldn't make that out. There he goes. He's introducing Dana White.
Yeah.
He introduces Dana White, and then Hunter Campbell walks behind him, and he couldn't get Hunter Campbell's name out of his mouth. So he says, Hunter, Campbell, whatever the fuck his name is. It was great. There we go. Whatever the fuck his
What
name
the
is.
fuck his name is. He also had the one with he goes to talk to Kai Asakura, and he sits there and he asks a question. Kai Asakura, he goes, "Do we have a translator? We don't have a fucking translator." Who puts him up there with a microphone to interview a fighter that speaks Japanese and they don't have a translator?
That's fucking
was
great.
like,
How many
oh,
times have
dude,
you
that
been
was
up there for Bellator and be like, "Hey, where's your translator?" And then the translator barely speaks English himself.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah, it's-
I mean, we were in a pickle quite a bit when it was Bellator, man. We're like, okay, do we even bother? Like sometimes when you meet their translator, like in the fighter meetings,
oh yeah.
and we're talking to the translator because we're trying to get information out of him for the fighter meetings.
Translator
Guess
can't
what?
speak fucking his
He
own
can't
language.
speak much English. You're like, okay, how are you going to get in the cage and translate for this guy? Luckily, most of our guys were Russian, and Mike Hogan could speak Russian,
Yeah,
so
Mike
he was a good translator. He hated to do it though, but he did it. He was a trooper. He was a company man. He do the thing.
The
All right, hey
best
guys, I wanna thank you
Bellator
guys.
the best Bellator translator of all time is Islam when he was translating for Umar
Oh, why would he say?
Usman. It was just he was just standing behind him and he was like, you know, his little thinking face.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Islam.
You know, it's so funny. I did a thing for Neo Lahat in LA. He fought out there and he speaks Hebrew. And he basically just said, "Hey, just act like you're translating for me and just make up whatever." And so I just made up whatever. And it was so funny. I got home, there was like comments left and right. Josh, you understand Hebrew? How do you know? Because I guess must have been right about some stuff. I was like, "Yeah, I want to thank my family. I want to thank my wife." Da da da. And everyone's like, and I was like, "Yeah, that's just normally what everyone says." So I just went by what everyone normally says, but people were shocked that I was like semi right, and I was just laughing up and funny. Just worked out that way. It was a fun little moment there. All right, guys. Hey, I want to thank you guys so much. And just remember, this episode is brought to you by BetUS, YouTube 150 for the promo code. Some big fights next week. My mic keeps falling up and down on this. Also, go to LMNT. Go to LMNT. Drink LMNT, the best hydration drink in the business right there. Stay salty, my friends. Every purchase with our link down below in the descriptions, we'll give you a bonus package. And last but not least, subscribe to us over on OnlyFans. Follow all your favorite fighters over there. You got DJ, you got Stipe, you got Rockhold, AJ McKee, you got Chris Cyborg. I know there's more. There's a lot of other female ones on there as well, but that's on you. All right. So if you guys want to follow those female fighters, you go right ahead. And I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. Subscribe to us over there as well for extra content. We do live shows on that on OnlyFans as well. So thank you guys so much for following us. And John, take us away, bud.
Hey, for everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the fights as much as us. I want to say, Josh, thank you for everything you guys do. Love you, brothers, and we will see you.